are listening to Happy Hour Hustle, a bi-weekly podcast featuring the musings and witty remarks of the one and only Kim Bodie. We can promise at least 2 terrible jokes out of Kim and at least 10 minutes of incredible thought leadership from some amazing and influential guests. So grab a glass of iced red wine and join us for a wild ride. Here's Kim.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Happy Hour Hustle. We have some pretty special guests here today. We don't often get to chat with them on the podcast. Well, actually, that's not true. Ro's been on the podcast before. So real quick, what's you guys' job title and who do you work for? Already, we knew she was going to be awkward, folks.
Well.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be
Okay.
great for you.
Also, your name would help.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
will help.
I'm Erica, the digital associate. I'm usually behind the microphone, the
Yeah.
computer, recording these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of right.
And I work for Kim. Weird.
What's the name of that company you work for?
You know, 834,
Oh,
I think.
oh,
I don't know,
okay,
you might
cool,
have heard
cool.
of it, maybe.
All right, so our second guest is.
Oh, I'm Rowan. I am our content lead, and I also happen to work at this great place called 834.
So the next question is, how do you guys know Kim?
Well, crazy enough, I just kind of see her sometimes some days.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, maybe.
Ooh, 9 to
Sometimes
5.
Saturdays.
Yeah.
You never know. If I'm-
I try not to subject you to that. So, all right. And then inquiring minds want to know what's your drink of choice. Has it changed since it was put on your business cards?
No,
Mine
I don't even-
isn't. No, mine is still sour beer, but I will totally take anything.
Anything.
Not like anything.
You're
not
like
that.
anything.
I mean, like, I'm not picky. I'm not picky, but I'm also not desperate.
Good clarification there. Erica, what's yours?
I like Moscow mules, but lately I've been ordering margaritas every time I go out. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know
it
what
depends. Is it a classic margarita?
Yeah.
Okay, and where's your favorite place to get a margarita?
Oh, well, like in Grand Rapids?
Yeah. Yeah, nobody cares about Mount Pleasant or Lansing.
Well, okay, donkey. I tried the donkey. Yeah, good point. The donkey margarita. What is the purple one called? Like,
Prickly pear.
yeah, that one.
That's what I
that
heard it
one.
was from the peanut gallery over there. Have you ever had a one at Luna? Luna has really, really good.
No,
They
I've
have
had a
ma-
Moscow mule there, but I've never had a.
which is weird. Why would you order a Moscow
You know,
Mule?
I don't know. I just
It's
sit
fine.
down and do things. And
You do the
get
things.
judged. It's
Their mango, I think it's their mango, is really, really good. So now you know, prickly pear and mango, but go to the right restaurant. Don't ask the wrong restaurant for the wrong margarita. That would be so awkward.
wrong Moscow
It would
Mule,
also be
apparently.
something Erica would do. So, all right. So our icebreaker. This is one of my favorites. Are you ready, Erica? Are you ready for this?
It's me first?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
it's nice to throw you under the bus first. All right. If you could throw cold spaghetti at anyone, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, man, you guys asked me this on my first day here.
Because that's the kind of culture we are.
Yeah, that's 834 in a nutshell. I don't have a good answer for this. I think I said this on my first day too, but I always say my brothers because I just always, there's like a constant agenda.
Yeah.
Of
Well, you should
revenge.
also know that Erica has 2 brothers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and what do you actually go by the majority of the time?
Well, everybody calls me Rick.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand it, you drop the E and the A. Because a lot of people get
And if
confused.
you're confused, please stop listening to this podcast.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I mean, do you think that's because you grew up with boys?
No, I got the nickname my senior spring break of high school.
Is there a story there that you can share that's
Yeah,
appropriate
it's
for
appropriate.
our
I mean,
listeners?
one of my friends called me Rick, like just randomly during high school before spring break, and I was like,
Whatever.
yeah, whatever, moved on. And then we were playing beach volleyball, and a guy we were playing with who I didn't know him, he like learned my name Erica, and then he called me Rick, and all my friends like freaked out because she'd referred to me, or one of them had referred to me as Rick like a week before, and then it stuck.
And it just stuck.
Yeah, and now everyone, like relatives, friends.
Did you ever date that guy that nicknamed you Rick?
No. He
Oh.
tried to run with me. Like, I'm a weirdo. I went on runs.
True.
I went on runs in the morning on my senior year spring break of high school.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's the best way to get
freak
over a
of nature.
hangover.
It's- Yeah, you know.
I
you'd
mean,
be
you
surprised.
weren't
Senior year of
drinking
high
because it
school?
was senior year of high school, and of course you weren't drinking.
Yeah, no, we don't. It was water or.
Yeah,
we're
just
not even
water
gonna go
or
there.
maybe some orange juice.
Yeah.
Some
But he
vitamin
tried
C.
to run with me the next morning, and I hid.
Oh, I've done that before. I hid in
Yeah.
a closet one time to because a ex-boyfriend. I don't really know what we were dating anyway, but showed up at my house and I didn't want to talk to him. And he walked in because we never locked our doors at the time. It was in the middle of the country. It was Burnham's. Nobody even knows where that is. It's fine. You can Google it. You'll find nothing. And I hid in a closet to escape him
That's amazing.
because I didn't want to talk to him.
I
because it was
relate.
super awkward.
Yeah.
See, we can
blame you.
relate to awkwardness. Okay, Ro, if you could throw cold spaghetti at anyone, alive or dead, who would it be?
Okay. Probably my old landlord.
Ooh, that's
I've
a good one.
lived at like 9 different apartment complexes in the last 9 years.
There's a blog there that needs to be written.
What I've learned from this, heck yeah. No, I had one that had a black mold problem, and
Oh, I think you told us about this.
yeah, they ripped up our carpet and like left exposed rusty nails when we had 2 cats running around, and we just came home to find a bunch of like nails pointing up and like 15 fans. We had to get a hotel room and like board our cats, and they just gave us a Meijer gift card to make up for it. So I think they are my target.
I think I'm gonna throw cold spaghetti at them as well. I'm gonna do more than
Exactly who
that.
You're talking about too, and I will help you.
Yeah.
names
Oh.
It was the Mount Pleasant apartment.
Oh.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Oh
We'll
my
expose
goodness.
them.
Yeah, we should expose them on that. Maybe not on this podcast. We'll just do it later. Okay. So I didn't actually even introduce our title because I just jumped right in. We're doing this. Kind of came up because we have been doing a lot of interviewing lately. At this point in the time, we have an open position, but we've also hired several other individuals that just recently too. So one of the things I think people don't talk about enough, or like if you Google it, it's like, here's your canned interview questions. Here's the questions you should ask like the company that you're going to interview with, or anything like that. So we're going to talk today about how to crush an interview. I'm sure we all have very awkward stories that we can share. I'm looking at you, Erica. But so we're going to talk about how to crush an interview. So interview etiquette, questions to ask at an interview, and then things you should avoid. I get a lot of those. All right, so first of all, what's the biggest thing to not do at an interview?
To me, it's coming in with an assumption.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really general answer, but like you can read things and you can try to stalk a business as much as you want, but until you meet someone face to face, you have no idea. And that assumption, if you come in assuming something's terrible or assuming,
I agree.
Sergeant Phoebe are our special guests right now.
Always.
I don't know if that'll get edited out.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't,
Oh, it's kind of hard too.
It's staying.
Yeah, it's staying. I mean, it's Sarge. These are office noises. So okay, so assumption.
But yeah, so if you assume someplace is terrible, or you assume someplace is, I don't know, just anything, and you walk in, you will always be proven wrong. Like you don't know people until you meet them, and it can really damage how you prepare and how you treat an interview beforehand, and even like how you follow up.
What would you say?
I mean, I think that's the big thing. Besides that, I mean, there's a million do's and don'ts of interviews. You know, like don't show up late, don't show up too early. I've always been taught to show up 5 minutes before an interview, or else you're being disrespectful to the interviewer's time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I've always heard 10 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, either you look desperate, like you're not doing anything, or you're just being inconvenient. Like,
My biggest pet peeve is the handshake. Know how to go in for a handshake. I don't, if just err on the side of too firm versus, what are they called? The limp fish? Like when you come in and you like daintily grab my hand, I immediately have formed an impression of you and it is not favorable.
like
So
the grandma shake, where you grab like the top
yes,
of
the
the hand.
grandma. Like, what is that? Then I'm just like, are you pinching me? Are we going in for like a chest bump? Like, I don't know. It's horrible. Learn how to shake a hand. Like, practice with your friends. It'll be a fun party game. But that's my biggest pet peeve, which is terrible because there's a lot of worse things you could do. But I think a handshake says a lot about a person. If you come in kind of like dainty, it says, hey, I don't know how to seize the moment. I'm unsure. I'm overly cautious or whatever. And if, I think if you come on, I don't think if you come in with too firm of a handshake, it's a bad thing. I guess some people say you shouldn't shake too hard, but who cares? As long as you don't hold on to my arm or my hand for 5 minutes or 30 seconds shaking it, that's just weird.
Also, like those handshakes where people shake and then grab your elbow too.
Yeah.
Like, those are weird.
Is that like a power move?
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah, I don't need that. I know where my elbow is. Thanks. So, all right. So why else would you do that? The whole office is laughing at us. These are our podcasts. You're welcome. All right. How should you dress? This is a good one because being an agency, a marketing agency, we are pretty laid back in what we wear. So how should you dress, regardless of where you're going in? what would your recommendations be?
I was always taught dress for the job you want. So like, aside from wearing like a tux or like
Yeah.
a bowl gown.
Well, that's
like,
just weird. Don't do that.
Like, dress for the highest level that you want at a company, because you can always dress down. But if you show up in jeans, like even if that's your day-to-day wear at that company, you're not.
Looks like you don't care. Like you're
Yeah.
not even trying. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I guess when I'm interviewing at places, I try to find them on social media. That's what I did when I interviewed here. And then I take their daily dress and go one step up. Yeah, because I have heard from people that you can be, like, I don't think you can be overdressed for an interview, but I think it makes some employers uncomfortable when they're, like, in jeans and you walk in and you're, like, fully suited up. And I think, it shows that you care and that you're trying. So, I don't know. I'm torn there. But I always try to do my research before and see, like, what's the company culture, like, what's their style, and then take it up.
Well, you
one
also have to
notch.
feel comfortable in it too, because if you show up in a suit and you never wear a suit in your life, then
Yeah.
that's going to come across.
And don't wear gray.
No.
Sweat stains.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
That's one of my cardinals.
That's good to know.
Because I sweat a lot.
Well,
It's
apparently
cold.
Erica sweats a lot. So, but I would say too, like, I think even if you dress up or you wear a suit or something like that, there should always be an element of your personality that comes out through it. So whether that's how you do your hair, I love color, I love crazy shoes. So regardless of where I'm going or how I'm presenting or what I'm wearing, that will always be an element of my outfit. And I think that's important too. You can't lose yourself in what you're wearing or not be your authentic self, because that does come through.
On that note, like if you haven't looked into it, the psychology of colors plays a huge role, even in what you dress for. I almost said resumes, great for interviews, because like you can walk in black, but if you wear purple or if you wear like a yellow accent, that gives something different. So
I always wear red. I'm pretty sure that just says anger, but
it's like bold and confidence too.
oh,
so.
okay. Well, we'll go with that one instead of anger. I like that better. You're not angry, Kim. You're bold and confident. Great. Oh, this was we were going to talk about when we show up, but we already really covered that, which is like about 5 minutes before. We've had people show up like 15, 20 minutes before, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And because our office is so open, I'm like, what do I do with this person? Do I sit them in a corner? Do I pretend like you're not actually here? Like, I'm so confused. But yeah, don't show up there. Walk around the block a little bit or something. But then you could have the sweat stain issue. So maybe don't do that.
Just sit in your car.
Just sit in your car.
I've done that.
Yeah, but don't park right next to the door, because that's just creepy and we see you.
Also, if they go over, like, don't get antsy. I don't know. Since we already covered that, like, I've seen people who come into interviews 5 minutes early, and then when their interview doesn't start directly on time, not here, but like other places, if it doesn't start directly on time, they start like looking around and like bouncing around and getting up. Like, just be patient. Like, everybody's lives are weird.
That kind of leads into the next question of assumptions. Like when you're talking, when do you ask the salary question? I think it's more, I guess, normal now for a lot of the salary ranges to be included within a job description. So, I think it's okay to ask that before you even interview. I mean, that's one of the first things we ask is, what are your salary requirements? This is an entry level position, or this is a director level position. This is the salary range. I think companies don't want to waste their time either. So I think asking that question up front is okay. Don't ask it in the interview. Like, that just makes things up. Well, actually, I don't mind asking it, but don't you be the one that asks it. The employer can ask it, or the company interviewing, but you should not, as a candidate, do that. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I agree. I feel like if you, as the candidate, ask that means either you haven't looked at the job description thoroughly, or that's all you care about. And like, granted, people work because they need to survive, but also you want to love your job. So if you come in, the first thing out of your mouth is, how much do I get paid? Like,
Well, then that's what I think motivates you. That's all you care about. And I get it. Yes, you're working a job. You need to get paid, and you need to be, that we all get that. But I think because there's so many companies that are now competing for the same, kind of group of, employees or graduates or whatever, I think that as somebody who is interviewing for a job or on the job search, you need to determine what it is that you want from a position. Is it just the salary? Great. Then But then looking at a smaller agency like ourselves, who has to make up not necessarily being at the top of that range with, other things like whether it's perks or, flexibility or work environment and culture. But I think if you come in and the first thing out of your mouth, regardless if that might be the most important thing to you, is what's the salary range? I think that's like that's an email follow-up question. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, and I disagree with that a little bit.
Ooh, she disagreed.
Controversy.
Now, okay,
Multi-layered.
I'm not trying to dig myself a hole here, but I am the youngest one
Yeah.
in this group right now. So
I don't know.
maybe I'm way off
How old
base
are
there.
you, Bree?
Oh, good point.
Oh, 22.
But-
Okay, still.
Yeah, same age.
Yeah.
I'm a couple months older, I think. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
I did, but
You did? I don't remember
did.
it. That's how memorable it was.
Yeah,
Oh, the
I
Google.
think
Yeah.
If you look at make sure you read the job description thoroughly, understand it, have an idea. If I was interviewing a lot of places, so I was hearing a lot of different salary ranges. So I did my research and came in with like a range of what I've heard from corporation and agency. And instead of asking like, how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
It was more like, this is what I've researched. Is this accurate?
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of approaching that. I feel like in any sort of salary situation, you never want to walk forward without an answer. Like you never
Right.
want to be like, how much you gonna pay me? You can ask like, hey, I want to make this amount of money, but like in a gentle way.
Well,
you
and
know
I
what
think
mean?
being
Like-
honest about it too, like saying like, listen, I don't really know. This is what
Yeah.
I've researched or what I've Googled. And I'll tell you too, it's interesting because we've had people that we have interviewed out of Chicago. And if you do your research, cost of living in Grand Rapids is I think about 27% less than what it is in Chicago. So the salary that you're making in Chicago is not going to be the same in West Michigan. So, we had those conversations with some individuals that were working out of Chicago, and we said, do you understand that? Do you understand that actually this is your cost of living is going down significantly, so the amount that you're making is very much in line with that. Some people don't understand that, and just all they see is a pay cut, or all they see is, so I think that's important to understand too, where you're researching or where you're looking for a job and how those numbers stack up. And being a smaller company too, I think we're more sensitive to it simply because, we have to be really, really, conscious of our funds, and people is our biggest expense. I mean, we invest heavily in them, but we also, you come in, if it's entry level, you're going to come in at the bottom and you're going to work your way up. But that's what your opportunity to prove yourself. So, and she was, apparently Erica's still here, so it wasn't so terrible. Oh yeah, should you mention if you'll need time off soon? That's a good one.
I think so, and I'm very guilty of this because I do a lot of, I go on a lot of trips, or where I have to plan them super far in advance. So whenever I have interviewed for a job, if it is something within the next 30 days, I'll mention it. Like, hey, there might be a Friday that I need off, or if you.
I think you mentioned your wedding.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Which was like a year.
Yeah, we got plenty of notice.
But I feel like that's important because if somebody's hiring you in to fill a spot that has like a lot of work, they need to know right off the bat, like, oh, okay, we need to plan around this, especially with onboarding.
Well, and I
stuff
think
like that.
too, like it goes to company size. If you're interviewing at a corporation, chances are like, they're not going to be as concerned about it. But a smaller team, it's going to be much more felt.
Well, plus, like, how does that look to be like your first week on the job, and then be like, okay, so next week I actually
Yeah,
need
I'm gonna
Thursday
be gone.
off.
See
Like,
you
yeah.
guys.
It's a respect thing.
Yeah, very much so. And I think too, like that's interesting. You bring respect up because that is something that I think when you are an employer and you're interviewing, you are especially conscious of that. There's been a couple interviewers that we've had that have come in, and it felt like they were asking for special treatment before even being offered the job. Like, this is what I expect out of this position. And that's great, and I don't ever want to discourage somebody from advocating for themselves, but at the end of the day, the business owner has to make the decision that's best for their business, and also the other employees. And we are so conscious of culture here that I would never hire somebody that would go into this job expecting special treatment when the employees that have been here and working their asses off, and have earned it, are and they put in the time. So I think for me, that's a huge respect thing.
Agreed.
Man, I was so good. You guys don't even have any feedback for me. That's awesome.
I like Erica's
Yeah.
agrees at the end of these.
Yeah,
I
agree.
have nothing.
Agree. Okay,
It's a mic drop.
it was a mic drop moment. I've never had one of those. Yes. You add some sound effects of like a mic dropping. That would be awesome. Okay,
the
that
air
sounded
horn.
like lasers. If I knew what that sounded like. I was gonna ask awkward interview moment. Do you have one? So I was interviewing, this is so terrible. I was in a job that I really liked, but I would sometimes like, you're always like as the grass greener on the other side. So I remember I applied for this job and it was like a PR job working for a very Christian company. Yeah, get your chuckles in now, everyone. And so I remember there were 2 different positions available at that company. I got asked to come in and interview. I did not clarify which position I was interviewing for. So dumb mistake number 1. So I go in there. I've done no research. I'm legit hungover. This was in my 20s. Let's just remember that. I'm legit hungover from being out the night before. So I'm already like definitely not on like the ball. And I didn't research like the company at all. I don't even reread the job description. So I got in there, and as we all know, or anybody that knows me, when I get awkward or in uncomfortable situations, I babble. I proceeded when we go through and they asked me how to market something, and I told them stuff they were already doing, and I was like, this is going down in flames right now. This is terrible. And then I think he asked how I would fit in with the culture, or it was something about that. And I proceeded to confess literally all my sins. That I really enjoyed drinking came out. That I didn't go to church anymore. That also came out. All things that he did not ask me. And this guy was just staring at me like, what is happening? I was like, my brother's gay. I love gay. And like the weirdest things were coming out of my mouth. Like I was like, everything that I thought that they would not like about me, I felt the need to confess. Don't do that in an interview. That's like a really, that's just a horrible thing to do. So I proceeded to do that. On the way out, I got, I think, 3 or 4 devotionals and a couple Bibles. And I was like, fair enough.
Nice.
And that was it. Weirdly, I didn't get the job. I know.
Okay, so I have 2 that are equally awkward, also equally short. So my first one ever was my first ever job, which was McDonald's, let's be real. And while I was interviewing for it, I just like walked in and was talking to somebody, and she found something like a straw wrapper or something on the ground, the manager, and she ducked down to grab it, and I tried to shift out of the way and wound up kicking her square in the head.
Oh, that's amazing. How do you recover from that?
I got the job. So.
Oh, well, maybe she didn't remember you. So.
Yeah. And then I had another interview at Grand Valley back when I was there, at the Writing Center, and they had like that stereotypical question of like, if I was to ask your manager right now, what would they say is your biggest area to improve? And I was just
Also a terrible question.
Yeah, and like I just blanked, so I
Yeah.
couldn't think of anything because I was working at a fast food joint at the time, and I felt like I was one of the better people on staff, and I just couldn't think of anything. And all I could think of was the fact that morning a girl had like stormed out on me because she didn't like how I cut open like a sub. So I was like, well, there is an employee who doesn't really like me, but I try to like fix things. And the interviewer just looked me in the face and he was like, so are you telling me that you don't get along well with your coworkers? And I just had to be like, yup. So never worked at the Writing Center.
You didn't get that
Crazy.
well? Okay, well, kick somebody in the head, yes. Tell them you don't get along with coworkers, no. All right. Erica, you have got to have
I
something.
do. I have 2, but
Oh.
I'm trying to think of which one's better.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you guys one of the corporate setting. 'cause
Okay,
I feel
this is
like you'll
great.
like this. Yeah. So I'm interviewing at a big corporation for an internship. I'm coming out of my freshman year of college. Just so nervous. Like,
Already
a
so
wreck.
awkward,
Don't know
yeah.
How, yeah, you like.
We're
I'm
sweating
awkward
for you right now.
No,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
yeah. Trust me, you're not.
Were you
surprised
wearing
what
gray?
it was. No, I was wearing blue, but I
Okay,
sweat
well,
through
that's-
that.
Oh, okay. So no blue
Yeah,
or gray.
no blue. No
Search it.
royal blue.
Getting those off the list there.
Yep. So yeah, awkward sophomore in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And it was for an administrative position.
Okay.
I ended up working at the company, but not in this position.
Okay.
And when you walk in, there's like this huge receptionist area, and no one's there. So I'm just like walking in and looking around, and it's just like this huge building, and I'm terrified, sweating through my shirt. And they're like, finally someone comes by and like, oh, go sit in this room. And they told me like 12C or something stupid like that. So I go and I sit in this room. it's like 20 minutes past the time I'm supposed to be interviewing. They couldn't find me. I was sitting in the wrong room the whole time because I'm an idiot. And they said the room next to that. And apparently they'd been walking by a million times. Like, I'd seen people walking by, but, like, it's a corporate invite.
How
People are
long
walking
do you
everywhere.
think you probably sat in that room?
Probably 20 minutes. I think it was like a 4 o'clock interview, and I really feel like I remember seeing the clock say like 4:22 or something crazy.
Wow.
And I was just like, did they forget about me? Like, oh, they're probably just too busy.
Yeah.
And then finally someone opened, and they were like, Erica, and I'm like, hi, da, 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 you know, being me, and they were just like, yeah, like we're in this room. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, so let me be your admin.
I can follow directions really
Yep.
well. Yep, my memory's on point.
But I got a marketing internship there instead.
Well,
which
I mean,
worked out.
yeah,
much
which
better
is
for me.
Yeah.
better. I can't
Yeah.
imagine you like being an admin, like
Yeah.
trying to like make appointments and call people and
Yeah, just imagine me.
on a
not-
phone.
Yeah.
yeah.
You've probably heard it here. It's not good.
You're gonna have a lot of fun changing audio levels when you edit this.
Yeah. So there's also no one here, in case you wondered. So there's that. Okay. So this we'll ask a few more because we know we've gone long, but this is way more interesting anyway. Okay, what is a great question to ask in an interview?
My favorite types of questions to ask are like, I like to really get an idea of what you're going to be doing day to day on the job and then get an idea of the culture, because I think that a lot of companies portray their culture in one way on social media and on websites, but then you get in the position and you're like, this is not what I signed up for. Not the case here. That it's actually the opposite. But I think there's certain questions you can ask, like, what is a typical day in the office like? How much variety is there on the job? Like, what are your day-to-day tasks? I like to really get a full, well-rounded view of what I'd be getting myself into.
What about you, Ro?
I normally grab those too, but I also like to ask my interviewer what their favorite thing about the company is, because if they can't tell me, then it means they're just putting on a front. Right. And I've been in interview situations where companies look really great, and then as soon as you expose them a little bit more, you're like, oh, this was all just an ad.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and it depends on who you interview with too. But
That's also true.
yeah, I'm trying to think what questions I like when people ask. Anytime like they bring up the dogs, they've already got a point in my book. I also can very much tell when they've actually researched the company. You can tell that before a person even comes in the door, because if you get to whom it may concern or dear hiring manager, I'm like, we're like 8 people, man. Like, how hard is it for you to go on the website and just look at the leadership team and you'd be like, oh, I could address it to any of these 3 people, or even Jimmy. He's dead. Don't do that. That would be sad. But anyway, the point is you can still address it to any of those people. I mean, it literally would take you 5 seconds to Google it. So that irritates me. But when they know something about the company, when they've read some of our blogs, that is incredibly impressive to me. Or when they have a question that says, you know, I think one of the things you guys have all done well, and probably also why we hired you, but you know, you did your research on the company. You asked questions. You brought up things like that were on the blog or on our social channels or whatever, which to me said you actually are putting in the work and you really do want to work here. And so I think that's pretty obvious when somebody has actually done some research on the company. And or if you even open like a portfolio and have prepared questions ahead of time, I'm immediately impressed. I mean, as long as they're good questions. But okay, what's a question you should avoid? And also always ask questions. I do think that's important. Not like, and don't turn around like, what's your greatest weakness? Also, employers should never ask that. There's better ways to ask those questions. The salary one, don't do that in an interview.
What are you looking for in a candidate?
Yeah.
Or like, what would your ideal candidate do in this position? If you ask like, what would my typical day look like, or what are the values that you hold deeply? Those are ways you can ask that question. But as soon as you ask like, well, what are you looking for in a candidate? It sounds like you didn't read the job description. Yeah.
Or pointing out like mistakes. I mean, they're right. You know, I know they're probably there, but maybe just don't bring it up in your interview. Yeah, and then we will all laugh about it. But until then, don't do that. All right, we're going to do a rapid fire. Oh my goodness, this is so fun. Okay, I'm going to start with Rick. Then I'm going to Ro. Rick.
We were talking how we're Rick-rolled.
Yes, that was what I was trying to put together when I was doing that, but I wasn't getting there. Okay, Erica, you're first.
Oh, no.
Describe yourself in one word.
Awkward.
Awkward. Good one. What's your favorite food?
Coffee?
This is what happened the last time I did this with Ro, and like overthinking to a fault.
Never.
Right, exactly. You're not
waffles.
like that.
I go
But
waffles.
also food, and you're like
All the-
coffee.
We'll go
like I was gonna be like wrong. Wrong answer.
We'll throw in Eggo waffles because I've had for lunch for the past 2
Oh,
weeks.
oh my goodness. Yeah, this is good. I literally thought somebody had just left like a waffle, like because it was a sad waffle sitting in like a container or a baggie, and I literally was like, do I need to throw this out? Like, how long has this been in the fridge? No, this was Ro eating a waffle every single day. Did you even put anything on it? I didn't even ask.
No, I brought syrup one day and it got all over my laptop, which was like a week old at that point.
Yeah.
So that I stopped
Yeah,
drinking in syrup.
yeah. So now it's just a really sad plain waffle. Yeah, just tossed into the fridge, all lonely by
Do you want me to
itself.
bring you like an apple?
Yeah. Listen, I've tried. Okay, let's not even talk about it. What was your last lunch? You had a couple pieces of pepperoni. Was it thrown on a
Yeah, mixed with
noodle?
like noodles or something.
Noodles.
Yeah.
Dry noodles.
Look, I just look at things that are easy to put together in
Yeah.
my kitchen. I'm like, all right, that's lunch.
Yeah, because most people would be like, I should throw some pepperoni, and by throw some, I mean two tiny pieces of pepperoni and some dry ass noodles. Like,
That's why we sit across from each other
Yeah.
so we can't judge each other's
Yeah.
food.
that's probably good.
an agreement we
yeah,
made long
you
ago.
guys can appreciate it. Well, look at that culinary piece right there. That's amazing. Okay, coffee, tea, or a different morning drink?
Coffee.
I already know that, and you and your weird cold coffee.
It's iced coffee. They act like it's some insane invention.
It's just, I've just never seen anybody do it themselves. That's weird. Okay, most use social network.
Twitter. I have like 14 Twitters.
Ooh. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay,
Sorry.
no. What 2 books can you not live without?
2 books?
Yeah, you're like, why did you ask me this question?
No, yeah, this is a row question. This is not
Okay,
a
I'll give that one
question.
to Ro. 2 books you can't live without.
So now I thought you were gonna answer it. I feel like
You have to way more than 2, but off the top of your head, 2.
I mean I've got to say Dark Tower because that's always
Yep.
my answer, and it's a book series, but we'll go with it.
Yep.
And
Okay, and
The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I'm
Okay.
making Erica read
Yes,
right now.
I'm reading that right now, and it's really, really good.
okay, see, you got 1. Okay, favorite office dog.
Oh, Sarge. Easy.
Yeah, easy. Well, they're his favorite too. So, text or calls?
Text, please.
I asked you the same. Text or calls?
Calls. FaceTime.
What?
Yeah.
FaceTime? Like
FaceTime.
awkward
Millennial.
FaceTime?
Yeah, I'd rather talk to you, see your face.
Did I tell you the one time I didn't realize I was still on video chat and
Oh, no.
pretty much gave everybody a shot of my boobs? Yeah. I mean, I had a shirt on. It's not like I was naked, but I was like leaning. Somebody finally messaged me and was like, all we can see is your like neck and like down. And I was like, I thought I had turned the
something I
camera
would do.
off, and I turned me off from seeing them, not vice versa. So anyway, okay. One place you want to visit? Oh wait, no, that's Ro. One place you want to visit?
Germany.
Awesome. I'm gonna ask you the same.
Greece.
All right, I can get behind that. What's a phrase you hate? I'm asking Ro.
I just had the last one.
There's so many good ones too.
There are so many.
There's
good
so
ones.
many.
Oh,
that
I hate all but. So like when people are writing things and it'll be like, oh, the store was all but closed. It means it's closed. Like
Yeah.
it means it
Yeah.
was anything.
Just cut that out. You
No,
don't
it
need
means it means it was anything except for closed.
Oh.
But people use it to mean it was closed. Drives me insane.
Yeah, it's a wrong usage. Go read the grammar blogs. They're super popular. All right. What motivates you? I don't know. I said it so weirdly, but you're welcome.
Motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know.
Speak up.
I'm thinking. Yeah. do
You don't know
like
what
that, like-
motivates you? Like,
Well, a lot of things motivate me.
Literally named any one of them.
yeah.
I just like the feeling of accomplishing things. I guess that motivates me.
So
Like,
crushing
I
it.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like seeing something done after you've put all the work into it.
Yeah, and then like reflecting on the journey
Yeah.
that got me there.
The journey. Oh,
Yeah.
how
You
deep.
read a lot of self-help books, don't you?
Yeah.
I used to.
Apparently she doesn't read anything.
Yeah,
So
apparently I'm just.
we have we have like a book recommendations on our blog.
We have 2
I
whole
actually
blogs
read
about
that
it.
Yeah.
before I got hired here. I'm not
Yeah.
even kidding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then didn't read any of them. That's fine. All right. If you could leave somebody looking for a job, somebody who's got some interviews coming up, what is one piece of advice you'd give them? Who wants to start?
I can.
Okay.
Don't put on a face. Like, obviously, you want to present yourself in the most professional light, but if you put on a persona that either means you have to keep up that persona the whole time you
Oh,
work
that's
there,
exhausting.
which is terrible, or you have to at some point admit that you were essentially lying about who you were. And that's just not, it's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for the culture. Just be yourself.
Well, and if you can't work someplace that accepts you for who you are, do not work there. That's my piece of advice.
So if you don't get the job or you get rejected, it sucks. Like, that's tough. But I like to view it as like you're one step closer to where you need to be.
Yep.
So like, don't let all of those setbacks get to you and get you down and like knock your confidence down. Just try to figure out what you did wrong or what skills you're missing, and then figure out how to fill that gap and move forward with it.
That did sound very self-helpy, didn't it?
I mean,
That's
Yeah,
from my
a little bit.
dad.
my dad.
Oh!
Yeah, who also likes self-help. So. Yeah. Shit.
All right, guys, that is it. My favorite. Has anybody figured out my catchphrase yet? I mean, go listen to a few more because it's real great. The team loves it. But anyway, we are wrapping this. You two have officially been hustled. Fantastic. You were very nervous about it, but you're
Yeah, I
hustled.
did not want to be on this.
Yeah. So until next time, we will see you on the download.